Good afternoon. A big welcome to everybody joining us today. My name is Johnny, and today I'm going to be taking you through the process of creating a Scribe project and turning that Scribe project into a video that you can use. So this webinar is great for new users who are just getting started using the VideoScribe software. So throughout this session, I'll be joined by my colleague Barry, and he'll be on hand in the chat to answer any questions that you have. Now, this webinar will last about 45 minutes, leaving around 15 minutes for open questions at the end. So displayed on the screen at the moment, in this video, we are going to be covering adding components to your Scribe project, setting a scene, adjusting the camera, adding audio, and then finally creating a video. So we're going to get started with the VideoScribe software, so let's dive in. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to log into VideoScribe using my Sparkle email address and password. I click on the login here, and I'm using the latest version, which is version 3.3.2. Now, from 3.3 onwards, there have been a few changes that have been introduced that I'll be able to cover today. So for those of you that have upgraded, it's now a good session. If you have any questions that you can ask in the chat, anything that you'd like to find out about, but I maybe not cover, you can ask at the end and we can go through this with you. So we have our new feature screen, which is showing some of the features that we'll be covering. So I'm just going to click on the tick, and I'm going to create a new Scribe. So let's click on this to get started. Now, we start off with our project screen with a blank canvas. Okay, and today we're going to do a Scribe, sort of like a bit of an information pack, and I'm going to do a Scribe about myself. So we're going to add some content to our blank canvas, and to do this, we can use the buttons on the bottom right corner here. So we've got our add image, add new text, and chart buttons. So we're just going to start off with adding some text first of all. So this Scribe is going to be about me, so I can just type into the text box here, and then I can click on the tick, and I'll add an element to the canvas. Now, the first thing that appears is the text on the canvas, and I've got a bounding box around the outside with some adjustment handles. So these 4 handles I can use to adjust the size to anything that I'd like. I've also got the rotation handle at the top. If I want to turn that around, I can click and hold and move that about. Now, what makes VideoScribe easy to use is that there's no technical experience required. So once we've added our text, we can just click on the play button here, and then it'll draw the letters for us automatically. Now, you can see that the text is now being added to the canvas, but it's also our first element that is appearing on our timeline here down at the bottom. Now, each time we add a new element of text or an image, they will display in order on the timeline at the bottom. So this is our first one here. And next, we're going to add a new image. So I'm going to scroll to a new place on the canvas. So I can click and hold with the mouse button to move things around, and can drag the screen over to a new position. Now, VideoScribe will automatically insert your new piece of text or your image in whatever space that you are currently viewing. So I've got a new space here. I'm going to add a picture. So I'm going to look for a picture of a person that is close enough to me. So I can browse through the different categories I have on the left-hand side. We have quite a few that are stored on your computer and your online ones down at the bottom. And I'm looking for a male person, so I can just browse through. And oh, there's someone in a white t-shirt. That is good enough for me. So I'm going to click and add this person to the canvas. And again, just like the text element, I can click, there's a bounding box around it, and I can move it around if I hold and just drag this around the canvas. So I'm just going to put this one to the side here. Now, you can see that I've now added my second element onto the canvas, but also the second element in the timeline. So this is always going to be the order that it plays in, starting with the first element on the left and the second or continuing elements coming on the right. And if we want to adjust these, we can move them around. If we click and hold, you can choose what position they go in and what position they play back. So, for instance, I'm going to play back this element, and I can use the second play button here, which is play from current element. And by clicking here, it will automatically play back what I've inserted. So you don't have to start from the beginning each time you insert a new element. Okay. Now, a little bit more about the timeline. In 3.3.2, well, from version 3 onwards, in fact, we have what's called some quick menu options that we have added onto these elements at the bottom here. So we've got a picture thumbnail. You can delete the element, you can hide the element, and then you can look at the properties. For those of you that have upgraded, previously you were able to double click, and you can still visit the properties by clicking here on the properties icon or this little button down here. Now, we have what's called our quick menu, and we can see that for this element, it will draw for 3 seconds, and this is the change animate time. That's how long it takes for it to draw the element, and this is currently set at 3 seconds. And we can increase or decrease this on the bottom of the timeline here. So if I want it to be quite quick, I can set it to 2 seconds. And again, I can play to see how it looks. And that will work there. And I'm now going to add some information about me. So we can add some more elements to this little scene here. So we're going to go for my name is, and we're going to start with Jay. Some people call me Jay. And we've added another text element, so I'm just going to go back into that one here. I can double click to open up the properties, and then I can click on edit text. And what I'm going to show is a different thing that we can do in the text properties, which is change the font. Now we have a drop-down menu here, and VideoScribe will recognize any fonts that you have installed on your computer. And you can choose to install them using the Manage Fonts button here. So at the moment, I've got Arial, so we'll see how it looks here. And I'm just going to time it out a little bit. I can also change the color here if I want to as well. So let's add the text. This time we've got my name is Jay in the Arial font. Now if we play that back, we can see how that draws as well. I'm going to also add a little bit more text, so this time my other name people call me is Jonathan. This part, I'm just going through some names that I can add onto the canvas, because what we should do at the end is be able to put the name that I'm mostly known as, which is Johnny. What I'm going to do is to show is that you can also add images and text to merge with each other. Because one of the things that I'm going to add is do a quick line out, so I can cross out the name Jay, cross out Jonathan, and then leave it with Johnny at the end. Now, I can search for an image of a line. So you have your categories on the left-hand side, but if you want to search for a particular image, you can use this text box here, type in the text you're looking for, and hit enter to search for any images available. you'll notice on the left-hand side, you've now got your filtering options that you can either select by line art, by color, different categories such as icons, processes, and I can search all the way through for the different things that they have available just for a line image. I'm going to go for this one. This line here, I can click to rotate. Let's surround and then move this over here. But now I've got that line on top to be able to cross this out. We can have a look at how that looks here. So let's preview from this one. So if I want to preview from this element instead of going all the way to the beginning, I can either click here to play from a current element, or I can use a shortcut. If I right click, I can also use play from here. Okay. Now, what I want to do is that at the moment, all these things seem to be a little bit in the wrong order, and also they are playing up with different camera positions. So what we're going to do is to set this as one scene. Now, the way that we can do this is we can scroll out to our preferred camera position. At the moment, I have a picture and I have different amounts of text elements set on the screen, and I want them all to be in view at the same time. So the current position, this rectangle here, that is where the camera is currently focused. Now, if I'd like to set this camera position for one element, I can use my quick menu, and using the last option here, we have our camera settings. This camera icon with a tick will set the camera for the current element. So if I click this here, that is now set the camera position for that person. So that's where it's set. However, because I'd like to set that camera position for all the following elements, what I can do is select multiple elements at the same time. So if I hold the Control button and then click on this piece of text here, I can select 1, 2, 3, 4, all of these elements at the same time. You can also select as a group if you hold the Shift key. The Shift key, the element that you have selected will be the first of the group, and then click on the last element of the group to select all of them. Now, to the right, we have our global camera functions, which will set the camera for any elements that you currently have selected. So let's use the camera with a tick, and this will now play out for all of the elements in the same scene. Okay. Now, this line through that I've attached here is currently in the wrong position. So as I showed you previously, I can reorder things around the canvas by clicking and holding, and I can move it around. So I'd like to come after the "My name is Jay." Now, when you move an element around the canvas, it will retain the same camera position. So as I've already set the camera to be in line with the rest of them in the scene, if I play back from here, will then continue with that same camera position. So all the elements that you have set, if you move them around the timeline, they're going to retain the same properties regardless of where you place them. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the animate time because that took a little bit longer than I'd like. So again, using these buttons here, I can increase or decrease the amount of time that it's going to play for. And I'm going to have it set it to 0.5 seconds. If you'd like to type in a time, you can also type in it. So if I want it to be 1 second, type in there, get the tick. And as I currently have this set to how I'd like it, I would also like to use this same line out for the word Jonathan on there as well. So what I can do is just copy and paste. And that will copy that element with the same properties right next to it for me. Now, at the moment, it's currently zoomed out at a level that's not where I'm actually viewing that scene. So if I want to view that camera position, I can use my quick menu here for where we have our camera positions, which is the little camera icon. And we have this icon here, which is View and Elements Camera Position. This is also possible to do by right-clicking on an element, and you have View Camera here, which is at a little quick shortcut that we have available. So I've got my copied item here. I can drag this down. I'll make this a little bit bigger. And then, once it's moved, I can either increase it, decrease it, whatever I like to. I will go for a big one here. And then I can move it to a different position in the timeline so it goes after, right there. Playing the scene back, should have all the same camera positions. Okay. So what we have there is a small scene. We've got some added text and an image on there. What I'm going to do next is create a new scene. So I'm just going to scroll to a new position on the canvas. So previously, I just used a mouse. I can drag the screen around to a new position, or I do have the control buttons on the right-hand side here. So this will also drag yourself around the canvas. You can zoom in using the magnifying glasses here. Or if you have a lot of elements that you have added onto the canvas and maybe you misplaced one, or if you set the camera, what is very handy is to use this button, which is Fit to Screen. That will show you all of the elements that you currently have on the canvas. Okay, so that's a very useful button to use, especially when you have many, many elements that you have included on your Scribe project. So I'm just going to drag myself across to the screen, and we're going to insert a new piece. So for this scene, it's going to be talking about where I live. So going back into the image library, this time I'm going to search for a house. So I'm going to go into buildings, and I'm going to scroll across using the menu here to search for a building of a house. And one of the things that you may have noticed is that some of these images here have these this little free color icon in the top left, so the red, green, and blue. So let me just click on this to show you. So what I'm going to do is we've got a house here which will draw fine by itself if I click on Play from Current Elements. But if I double click, I can go into the properties. You'll see that I have these two things here, which are a little bit extra. Now, we have added some color change features to quite a lot of images in our library, which gives us more variety. And so we can change things like the primary color and the secondary color. You will find that some images, such as people in the library, have the ability to change things like their hair or skin tone, and we'll be able to get at some of these later. But let me just show quickly how it works. Just by changing something like the primary color to a red, and the secondary color, so for green. You can change the colors of them, and then you can just preview, see how it looks. And we have updated this feature for a lot of images in the library, so you can test them out yourself. But however, if my primary color, I've decided to click on one and it doesn't look as good as the original color is there to select if need be. So I can go back to default by clicking the version in the bottom left. So I've got my house in the scene, and what I'm going to do is to set the camera for that one here. I'm going to light this in the top left so I can use my quick menu again. Oh, sorry, that was to view the camera position. Come again, and so I can either use the quick menu option or these global camera buttons here to send them top right. So a little bit about myself. I live in Bristol. Now, Bristol is in England, so I'm going to add myself an England flag. We can find this on the bottom left if we go for world. Now, as I have got a small scene with a few elements here, I would like to set the camera for these again. So I can just select them from the timeline, and that's the camera position I would like. And then click on the camera with a tick, and that will set the camera for all of those elements I have selected. Let's play it back. So let's play it back from this one. Okay. Now I'm going to add a new image over here. As England is currently in Europe. So let's search for Europe and see if we can add an image here. We can scroll across, something that shows, there we are, United Kingdom. At the moment, we just have a black and white image. What I'm going to do is to make it a little bit more visible, I'd like to change that green. So I can go in and change the properties here. If I double click on the image, now it'll show the preview on the left-hand side. Instead of going for full color, I'm going to change this to a silhouette. So these are some of the options that you have by default on most images. You've got the outline, which is currently looks like at the moment, but a silhouette will fill that image in. And then you can change the color of that silhouette. So I'm going to change this to green, so it looks like we've got green of a map. I'm clicking on the tick. So now, when I preview, have a green tick at the end. Fantastic. Okay. So I'm going to add some text, which is a city in England. I'm going to change this back to basic font. And I'm going to add it to my previous scene, which is over here. So you'll notice, but because I had it part of in the wrong location, I can easily just drag and drop them into the scenes that I want. And if I want to make sure that it's still going to be in the same space, the same camera position as I had previously, I can just view the camera position that is set, and then make sure that that text still fits in. So I'll play this back here. I live in Bristol. I've got the England flag, which is a city in England. That's showing in the right place. But what I'd like to do is set the camera position so it's exactly the same. So you'll find this a lot when you're creating larger scribes, that you're going to want to fit the camera position to just be the same. So you've got individual scenes, but the camera isn't moving every time. So I just want to view the position and then click on the text or the element that you want to be the same, and we can just set it so it's the same. Again, you can do the same with just clicking on the tick here as well. In Free 2, we also have the option of keeping open the quick menu so it remains on the previous selection that you have for previous elements. So I don't really have that set up at the moment, but I can change that in my preferences, which I may do in a moment. So, but the text says I live in Bristol, which is a city in England, and then my next element is an image of Europe. So I'm going to add some text to say, which is in Europe. With the basic font, know that it's all capitalized, so I know that it will all show in caps. So I've now highlighted both of these elements on my canvas. Again, I can just click the camera to make sure that I now have the same camera position. I'm going to drag the text, so I'd like the text to be displayed first, and just move it to be head of Europe. And again, the camera position will remain exactly the same. So if I preview from here, okay. Well, let's move out to a new position so I can do another scene again. And this time I'm going to add a bit of a background, and we're going to add some characters to describe a family. So I'm going to do the image of a street. Let's type in street here. Let's go for this one here. Okay, let's move to a nice new space here. There we are, and I would like to set the camera here. So I'm going to add in the same character that I used at the beginning, which I can either copy and paste, or if I click on Add New Image, you see that I have some characters that I have previously selected that are in my recent images. So I'm going to use this one again. Make it a little bit smaller. Okay. Now, some people may have noticed the blue line that I have. So I'm going to be adding some characters, and if I want to make sure that they line up correctly, if I want to scale them, you'll see them on the left-hand side and at the top of the screen there are these little ruler icons here. If I click and hold, you'll see that the blue line will appear, and can use this line as a guideline. So I'm going to be adding a few characters, and if I want to make sure that they're all level, then I can use this guideline to put them against. So I'm going to have myself added here. I live in a house with myself and my partner, so I'm going to look the options available here. I'm just going to browse to find a character with a suitable pose, which is just here. And then I'm going to add pictures of the kids to put in as well. Search for boy. Now I'm going to go in and change the properties because my child specifically is a little bit lighter. So I can double click. And it's very helpful to have a library which has lots of different characters of different abilities and with different ethnicities and such. We can also change them, the garments and skin tones, etc. as well, as I said before. So we've got our first box here for skin tone, hair color, and then we've got the primary and the secondary colors. So skin tone, good to have a little bit lighter here. And the hair a little bit more brown as well. Let's take the t-shirt, a bit of a blue color. That's a little bit nicer. There we are. And he's way too big. make it a little bit shorter. And put that on the line there. And we also have a toddler. So I'm going to add an image and I'm going to search for baby. And that will do as well. Again, just using my handles to adjust the size, I can drag and drop and place them there. Add some text. I live with my partner. Is it a caps lock? And so I can now drag this to be at the beginning. I have another piece of text I can add on. And my 2 kids. And this I can set for after. Just before the 2 children are added. So now I've got another scene again. I want to make sure that the camera is in the right position. So this time I'm going to select the whole group of them. So I've got the street at the beginning and the child at the end. Hold down Shift, click the end, and then we'll use the global camera position, set it for all of them here. And click on preview. I'm going to preview it from the street. And okay. Now, going back to that scene, to help things flow a little bit better, what you can also do is you can start editing as well as the animation time. You have the pause time, which is for stopwatch. Let's view that camera position here. We have the pause time, which is the stopwatch with the pause symbol. And then we have the transition time. So we're going to focus on the pause time for the moment, because what I like to do is, instead of there being a little bit of a lull and a wait each time an image is drawn, I'm going to step back to 0 so it just moves on to the next one. So let's just here, pause to 0. That is all right there. And with this one also. And what that will do is that will mean when I press play now, instead of drawing and then waiting, it will then just draw one by one. But I also have what's called the transition time. Now, that's not going to make a lot of difference with a lot of elements that are all in the same scene, but I can show you what I mean by the transition by clicking and viewing the previous scene. If I show you here, after it finishes drawing the Europe image, it will then transition and move to the next scene of drawing the street. So at the moment, it's currently set to a transition time of 1 second. So if I wanted to increase this, for instance, to 2 seconds, that means it will draw for 3 seconds, pause for 0.5 seconds, and then will take 2 seconds to move on to the next image. I'm going to preview this now. We've got the drawing, small pause, and then a transition before it then starts to draw this new scene here. Okay, now you're going to really want to start using all of these, editing these times, the animate, the pause, and transition times. And it's mainly going to be once you start adding audio into your Scribe project. Now, you have 2 different channels of audio available, which is for adding your music and for adding a voiceover. For best practice, we suggest starting off with a voiceover at the very beginning. So if you have a plan or a script that you can start with, use a voiceover so you can then edit the timings of your images and elements to fit in with your voiceover. So I'm going to come to that too in a second. What I'm just going to go through now is choosing a soundtrack. Now, click on the Scribe Music, you can see that on the right-hand side here, we have many different tracks available in the library. They're all ordered in the moment and in alphabetical order. And we'll see for each element, if I click one, we have the name, we've got the amount of time it lasts for, we've got the play button to be able to preview, and we also have the free squares here. So this is showing the tone of a track. So these range from calm to heavy. So I'm going to turn the volume down here because I'm very aware that it comes out very loud when playing it through this webinar software. So if I want to preview it, okay. Now that one is a little bit more heavy, and so I can adjust if I want to use this drop down here. So instead of sorting by name, I'd like a calmer track. So I can change this from either sorting the menu by short to long, long to short, calm to heavy, heavy to calm. So I'd like calmer. So you'll see there's just one blue square of calm tracks, and as I browse through, you'll see they start to get heavier. They start to change color to purple, and then eventually working up to an orange and red at the end. So back to number one. Something quite nice and calm. We can preview and see if this is okay. A little bit too slow even. That's a little bit nicer. So we can select this one. Again, we've got the volume set to a little bit low at the moment, but that's just so it doesn't hurt your ears if I turn it up too loud. And we've got the option to loop a track. So at the moment, this track called Twinkle is 2 minutes 15, but if it's one of the shorter tracks, maybe a minute or even about 30 seconds long, you may want to loop it. So instead of the track finishing and there being silence, it will just start to play the track again. So let's add this. We can play from the start and hear how it sounds. Okay. So that is one audio channel that we've used at the moment. An option that you also do have whilst in the music menu is to import. You can import your own music. If you have an MP3 file of music that you would like to use in your project, you can add that here. Or if you have a URL to an MP3 track that you have saved online, you can click on the globe icon to add it here. What we're going to move on to now is the voiceover. And the voiceover, you also have the same options again. You can import your own MP3 file, or you can import an MP3 from a URL. What we suggest doing, you do have different software that's available. If you have an audio recording already that you want to import, then you can use that. This means it can be helpful if you have software, if you want to have a lot of audio. So if you have a long recording that can go for maybe more than a minute or so, you may want to do something that use multiple takes and to be able to stitch that audio together and then just import that MP3 file. But alternatively, what you can use is the recording option here. So I have my microphone options I'm going to use the microphone on my headset. So I'm going to use this one from the drop down. We have the play, scribe, and record button, so I can see what's happening, watch the playback whilst I'm recording. And then when I click on this record button, it will give me a 3-second countdown, and then I can start recording. So let's test that now. About me. My name is Jay. Or Jonathan. but most people will call me Johnny. I live in Bristol. Which is a city in England? Which is in Europe? But I'm going to stop that one there just on the basis of time. So once you record, you will then have your audio processed, and you'll also have an option to re-record. You can re-record as many times as you like. You can record for longer than there are images on your actual timeline. Now, you can play it back to hear yourself. You can click on the trash can icon if you want to delete it and start again. I'm going to make sure it's a little bit quieter, but a little bit louder than the background music. So click on tick there. About me. My name is Jay. Or Jonathan. But most people will call me Johnny. Okay. So now that we have a voiceover, this is what we're going to use to change the timings of the elements that we have on canvas. So when I started off, if we go back to the beginning, I added the first piece of text element that says about me, and then it will wait, and then it will change the transition time to be able to move into the next scene. Now, if I want things to flow a little bit better, I want things to be a little bit faster, because as a Scribe project, to be able to hold the viewer's attention, you want things to be nice and snappy. And so what we're then going to be doing is going in and editing a little bit more. So what I'm going to do to make the job easier is change my preferences. So I'm going to save this project. Clicking on the tick will save it locally. And so then it's available to look at again. You also have the options here to export it as a .scribe file if you want to give your project to someone else. And you also have the option to save it online to your online Scribes folder. So for instance, also the spelling mistakes, that's naughty me. About me, if I wanted to save it online, I could do that. I'm going to save that again locally, but with a little bit better spelling, and then we'll click to save it online. Now, we're advised to save online whenever you can, just so you have a backup available. And it's always good to back up your Scribes, because this means that you can also log out of the computer that you're using. And if you want to then go and use a home machine, or if you're working anywhere else, you always have that Scribe project available. So we can see I've got the confirmation it's been saved. And let me go back to my projects. We can see that I've got about me with poor spelling here, and about me online, but we see this also in my online Scribes folder. Okay. I'm going to go and change my preferences using the setting icon here at the bottom. And we'll see that we have our option to change our defaults. So with transition time, we're going to have it set to 1 second. Pause time is set to 0.5, and a max draw time is set to 3. So I'm going to change this to 2 seconds. I want my default pause time to be at 0 seconds, and the transition time at 0.5, because this is just a quick Scribe, and so I'd like things to flow nice and quickly, because taking too long with this is going to be a little bit cumbersome with the playback. So let's click on the tick. I'm going to save those options, and then I can go back into my Scribe project. Okay. So now we've got our music, we've got a voiceover, we can play around with timings. Let's look at the current camera position here. And I can edit that. So any changes that I've made to those preferences, that will be a change for any new image or any new piece of text that I add onto the canvas now. So you won't be changed if you change your default preferences. That's not going to change the work that you've already done, because that would make it a little bit of a mess of all your time as if it did. So that's going to affect anything I add from now on. What I can change, however, I've got this animation of this character being drawn onto the screen. That animate time is 2 seconds currently of drawing that person. My name. But what you can also do is instead of having to draw everything, if I go into the properties, we'll see this drop down here, which we have the option for draw, move in, and fade in. So if I wanted, instead of drawing that character, I could bring this character onto the screen. You can choose the angle, you can bring them on from the left. And instead, a hand will place that onto this canvas for me. Now, you see when a big hand came and placed that on there, I can choose what hand I want to use by clicking on the drawing hand option here. So I've got my previously used hands here. You also have the option of no hand. If I wanted to use a finger and place that on, I can do that also. That way a hand just places that character on instead. Another quick thing I'm going to show you here is instead of doing a line through to get rid of, to put a line through the word J, I also have the option to be able to, if I wanted to erase or to get rid of that text. And so what we have is the option of what's called a Scribble Out. So if I search for Scribble Out here, we have a blank image. And what we can do is place that blank image onto the canvas. We can place it over the word that I want to get rid of. You can do it with text as well. We can see that as I've added it, and it's a new element that I've added to the canvas, it's now added it with those new preferences that I set. So an animate time of 1, pause time of 0, transition time of 0 as well. But it's in the wrong place, so I want to drag it way back here. That will put it on this one instead. And I'm going to get rid of that line, so I'm just going to delete it by clicking on the trash can icon. We can now do a Scribble Out instead. So if we play from here, let's see. My name is Jay. Or Jonathan. Now, the way that Scribble Out works is that it looks blank, but it has a set path for the hand to follow. But it does look a little bit weird, of course, because I've got a pen there instead of using a rubber. So if I go into the properties, and we can do this with any elements, again, we can look at our drawing hands that we have available. And I want to go for a hand and a rubber. So each of these categories, lots of different hands and lots of different skin tones. But I can also choose a different hand from the set that we have available. So there's a hand with a rubber here. And then now when I play back from here, we'll show that there is a rubber rubbing out that piece of text. I'm going to pause here for a moment and have a little check if we have any queries or any questions. So what I'm going to show you quickly is at the moment how to publish this Scribe. And whilst we do that, we can load up any questions that we might have that I may not have covered yet. So we've got our Scribe project. We've got a few different scenes. We've saved our project. I had a quick look at the preferences, but we want to get this into a video file. So two very different things: saving your Scribe project and then publishing it as a video file. But Scribe project is able to be worked on, but it's only able to be opened in VideoScribe. You will not be able to use this in any form of media player. But download and publish Scribe video option on the top right. We have the option to download a video. You can render it to Shoko, to YouTube, and PowerPoint. So download a video will allow you to create a video file. you can choose your file type, a .mov, .wmv, and AVI. And for more advanced users, you have image sequences. So if you use other software such as Adobe Premiere or Camtasia such, you can export your video file into a couple of layers with a transparent background. But that's if you're using it with other software. You've got the different file size, right, on the resolution of the video. You can browse between 360, 640, 720, and 1080. The smaller the size, the smaller the video, the file size as well. So the smaller it is, the less time it's going to take to render, but the higher quality, it's going to take a lot longer to render that scribe to a video. You can edit per frame rate, the name of the scribe, and then by clicking here, you can choose your location for the video. Coming out of this, you have the option for Show.co. Show.co uses our local renderer. So when you select Show.co, instead of running on your computer and taking up a lot of time for yourself, it will upload the Scribe project to our servers and we will render it for you. What this means is that instead of having to wait around, it works sort of like YouTube will become available to watch, but you also have the ability to download your video as an MP4 file. Now, this will take longer because it's rendering it in 360, 640, and 1080 before it's made available for you to be able to download. So it will take a while longer, but once it's uploaded, you can watch it back. You can select the settings, unlimited or private, and then it will upload for you. And you'll be emailed once it's available to watch and view. So you have a link and an embed code if you want to use it online as well. Using YouTube will render it to a video file. You can then enter your YouTube account details and upload it. I won't select that now because just like PowerPoint as well, it will create a video straight away for you, and then it will open up the program PowerPoint, and then it will insert that video into a slide for you. Okay. So I'm going to come out of this for the moment and do one more save because it's always good to save online. Now, do we have any questions or anything that I haven't covered that you would like to know? It looks like a no at the moment. So what I'm going to do then is go through some other options that we may or may not cover before. So one of the features that has been added, we've gone through changing the hands, the animation types. One of the other animations that we do have available, let's insert a new image here. In fact, let's go to a new location. I'm going to use my character again. Here and set the camera for him. So with this character added in, I can have it to draw straight away. Or I can change the animation. So let's go in and look at the option we have from the drop down. So we have draw. One of the options that wasn't available previously is the option to move. It's the option to morph. Now, when you morph, it will transition from one image to the next. So let me show you how this works quickly. I can make a copy of this image. I can use the shortcuts here and drag him across. Highlight both of these to set the camera so it's easy to view. We go into the settings of this second character here. So I would like to morph, and I would like to morph it from the first character one to the other. So what we'll be able to do is to move the character across the screen. Just so you can see how it works, I'll set the animation time to 3 seconds. Essentially how the morph feature works. So you can do this with characters like if you have a car and you want to move that across the screen, lots of different vehicles it works really well for, or things that you want to come off the screen onto the screen as well. The last animation option that we have as well is fade in. And a fade in works by gradually having your image appear on the screen. So this time we've got it with a character. We can see how it works. Ooh, that's a very short draw time, actually. It's about 5 seconds. Get rid of him. That way, the character will slowly appear on the screen. However, if I wanted him to fade out or to have him disappear, I can search for blank, get a blank square, or like the Scribble Out. You can add that onto the canvas and place it on top of the character. Using the view, so the show element or hide element icon, I can see what's underneath. So no, that's in the right place. I can go into the properties for this one. I can also have this fade in. Because I'm having it fade in on top of that character, it will look like that one's fading out. So let's set the animate time 5 seconds again. Make sure the camera's in the same position. And play. And like a ghost, he's gone. There are a few things that I may not be able to cover, things like change the background and such, but we may need to save that for another webinar. If there is anything that you feel hasn't been covered or anything that you would like to see covered, again, there have been some changes in the latest version of VideoScribe that allows you to play around a lot more with things like the different colors. But we also do have a lot of features available by default as well. So things like graphic filters that you can play around with. If you really want to customize your characters, your images now, it's a lot easier to do with the latest version of VideoScribe. But I will leave it there for the moment. So anything you'd like to see, please do drop us an email at hello@sparkle.com. We also have our instant answers that are available on our help site. So if you go to VideoScribe or sparkle.com, if you click on help, you will see that we have lots of instant answers and step-by-step tutorial guides and videos that help you go through different techniques that are available to use in VideoScribe to help you get the best out of it. So we appreciate your feedback. Anything that you think will make this better, or even make the software better, we are all ears and always looking to see how we can improve. So I will leave it at that and say thank you very much for your time. From myself, I've been Johnny, and Barry, who has been helping you on the chat. We will see you same time next month. Have a great day.